So the moment everybody has been waiting for. Let's talk quarterbacks and what we saw. And we saw 5 different quarterbacks taking reps today. So it was I will say from my point of view, it was a little disjointed because there were so many guys taking reps. And so it was difficult.
And how they mixed them up. Talk
right.
about that.
Right. Because it wasn't like, okay, this guy's always with the ones, this guy's always with the twos, etc. There were all 3 of the guys in the competition took reps with the ones, either during 7-on-7 or team. All of those guys took reps with the twos, whether it was in 7-on-7 or team. And then, of course, you threw in Ebert. He took reps with team. And Rizak took reps during drill work, but not then with 7-on-7 and team. He was off to the side signaling in the plays. But it's very difficult to get into a rhythm because it wasn't even a predictable rotation. It was, okay, now it's this guy's turn. Now it's this guy's turn. Now it's this guy's turn. And it wasn't like there wasn't an order to it. And so it is difficult. Just for an example, Kenny got a lot more reps than CJ did. It's just the way that it worked out, right?
He got more reps than everybody did today.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But again, part of it's just the way it, some drives are going to be 4 plays. Some guy, he had led them on their longest drive. Yes.
Yeah. So he ended up getting more reps. You know what I mean? And so we saw Kenny throw more balls than CJ did. So there's more to evaluate there. You know what I mean? And so, and every practice is going to be different. This is the one that we saw, right? So a lot of reps for the quarterbacks. It wasn't even by any stretch of the imagination as far as number of reps. So I just wanted to throw that out there. And so it can be difficult to get into a rhythm, right? We've talked about the fact that in the past, Steve usually looked good later than he does earlier. He kind of gets into a rhythm. I don't know that he had an opportunity to get into a rhythm today. You know what I mean? Just because of the way that it was. So we're going to talk quarterbacks. We're going to tell you guys what we saw today. It is not a defining,
You're throwing out a lot of caveats, and I totally get it. But I think this is good for the quarterbacks because,
go ahead.
Okay, great. You can throw great when this whole starting line is there and you have 5 seconds to throw. How do you handle a day like today? How do you handle when things aren't going your way? How do you handle when you're not able to get into the rhythm? Can you make plays? Because the guys that weren't able to do that today, or the guy that wasn't able to do that today, I think says something to me. So I don't disagree with anything that you're saying, Vince, but I don't think it was necessarily a bad thing because you get to learn a little something about your quarterbacks. It's kind of like saying, well, yeah, you looked great in the pocket. There's one quarterback in particular, we'll talk about, Steve Angeli, that I thought looked fine in 7-on-7, did some nice things. Looked like a completely different quarterback when they went to team. Kenny and CJ looked kind of the same in 7-on-7 and team. I'm just being honest. So I actually take it as a good thing, Vince, that like all the things you said are true. All the caveats you said are true, but I think it's a good thing. I think it's actually a really good evaluation piece because you do.
I don't even mean
when things aren't good.
Yeah, I don't even mean the lack of reps as a caveat. I just mean it's a lack of reps that I got to witness. Right, you know what I mean? Like that we wasn't a volume of reps that we got to see. That was my point. I wasn't making excuses or caviats for these guys.
I don't know, Vince. You sounded like the only non-quarterback in this chat. Seemed like you that's payback for you starting some stuff.
Now I lost my pen. Dang it. Went behind the desk.
That's what you get. That sucker went flying, man.
It did.
That was great. But overall, I think today was a day where it's like, okay, you're going to get to test the mettle of the quarterbacks a little bit. And I think how today went told us a lot about where this group is.
I agree.
Where do you want to start, Mr. D'Addario?
I agree. I'll tell you what. How about now we all want to talk about everybody. So Trevor, give me your overall. Yeah, let's do that. Yeah, let's just go in order. Let's go oldest to youngest. Let's start with Steve Angeli. Trevor, I'll let you go first. Your thoughts on Steve today?
Yeah, it's interesting because I've heard, I haven't gotten to see a lot of practices with him in it. You know what I'm saying? Like I've seen now 3. This is my 3rd. But from what I've talked to Bryan and when I talk to Sean Davis, Vince, when we talk about it, Angeli is always the guy that kind of starts out slower but heats up as practice goes on. I'd make the argument today. I think it was the opposite. Like I think that I'm not saying he started practice on fire. He did not end practice on fire. And so it's just like I think he was more consistent at the start of practice, and then that started to diminish a little bit as practice went on. But I think with him, it's a lot of the physical tools that we've talked about already, that kind of continue to, I don't want to use the word hinder him, but I think it's just, there's a separation in my eyes when I sit down and I evaluate it. The release is a little longer. Timing gets thrown off a little bit. I mean, I think that was shown when certain routes were thrown. Like Steve's misses today were consistent.
But and Trevor, there was one point where we were watching. So there's a drill where they have all like 4 quarterbacks all throwing routes to 4 different receivers, and they're all running different routes, right? And they rotate, right? And so this one rep, and I leaned over and I said this to Trevor. There was one rep where CJ Carr was on one side and Steve Angeli was on the other side. So they were on the outside of the 4 quarterback rotation. And so they were each throwing the same route, but a mirror, right? It was an out route, but it was the same exact route. So in this, they all get the ball at the same time. They all release at the same time. And the ball was supposed to arrive at the same time. There was a full second difference between arrival time of one ball and arrival time of another ball. It's just, go ahead.
And the problem is that because of the length of his release and the fact that he's not a great anticipator, there's not a way to fix that.
Right.
And Trevor Lawrence had a very long release, but he had a cannon for an arm and he was a pretty good processor, so he could get the ball out quicker. And we just didn't see that from Steve today.
Right.
So
that was just a direct comparison.
To Trev's point, he started the way he always starts in RVA. It was okay. Had a couple corner routes or behind. Did well during the 3 7-on-7 throws. Agreed. And then during team struggled mightily throwing the football. You know what's funny, Trev? You know who had the 2 biggest runs of the day? Steve Angeli.
Steve Angeli.
And they were like good runs. They weren't like can't touch the quarterback, so he runs for 20 runs. Because they were blowing it dead when you had a shot. There was one time they blew it dead on CJ and one time on Kenny where you're like, no, they're not getting tackled there. But I mean, they were good reads, step in to see the opening and take off running for real good gains. I think he converted like a 3rd and 9 on one of those plays where the D tackle didn't get out to the B gap and he took off running. But the problem is, guys, I mean, he was really bad throwing the ball today in team, really bad. And he hit a couple checkdowns and that's it. Because when the pressure got there, and this is the issue, is his delivery is so slow and so long, to Trevor's point, that it's like what we're talking about, the one play where the pressure's coming. So Steve throws off his back foot. She had to, but he dips his back shoulder because it's so long. And then he stays low. You guys could see it when I was showing you the replay. The ball just comes out high because of the way his release is. He doesn't have the ability to kind of throw off platform the way you need to, and the ball just sails way over an open guy's head. And that's the other thing I kept saying is like there were some times the receivers were open and the quarterback's just sailing it over his head or, missing. And that was the thing that like Trev said, like he didn't finish well today. He just – people call him Angeli a statue. Again, that's a really bad evaluation of Steve Angeli. Steve Angeli's not a statue.
That wasn't that wasn't even the issue.
Who Steve Angeli is.
No,
we just said he had the 2 longest runs of the day.
The 2 best runs of the day. The problem is he doesn't have the feel for reading a defense where he can speed things up the way Kenny or CJ can. He doesn't have the throwing motion to speed things up and complete a pass the way that those other 2 guys did and can do. And you saw today when the pressure is there, that's the problem. Because where was he missing all day today, Trev? High and wide. Correct. All day. Because he has a traditional long throwing motion that he can't snap that thing off. And I mean, he was missing. Go ahead, Trev.
Well, in the moments where he did have time and he was able to set and have a good platform because of the longer release, there were throws that were behind. And that's the issue. Like it was the right read. It was, for all intents and purposes, like it was almost like the right timing if he had a quicker release. Like I think of that Cam Williams like I guess you'd call it drop that we've talked about before, I think some of that's the longer release.
It's an awful
mean,
ball. I just think that's also him, Travis. He's just not a real accurate ball placement guy. I mean, let's be honest. Maybe Cam should catch that ball. That was a terrible throw. It's literally there's no safety help. It's an RPO. He's got Cree Thomas beat by, I think it was Cree. Might have been Isaiah Dunn. He's got him beat by 5-6 yards. Not steps, yards. And he just throws it way behind him. If he just throws it at him, then
it's a touchdown.
He's gone. It's a 60-yard touchdown.
Yeah. And it was right in front of him. There wasn't even an angle to it. I mean, it was a throw that was right over the middle. So yeah, he needs to be able to make that throw, period. You got to make that throw.
And again, this is he just to me had a bad day. I'm not saying he might have been great yesterday. He may have been.
Yes.
But this is the only practice we saw them do anything other than individual drills, and he was really, really bad today. And not even like had an okay. He was bad today during the team periods. And you could see he was frustrated with his performance.
Yeah, he knew it.
He knew he didn't play well. This was written all over his body language. Yeah. You could see it. You could see it.
So let's talk about the next guy, and then we'll go down one step as far as grade level is concerned. Let's talk Kenny Minchey and how number 8 played today, and it was an interesting day for Kenny Minchey. I will say that, because at one point you leaned over to me, Bryan, and you're like, Kenny's best quarterback out there right now.
I said he might be.
He might, yeah.
Like he might be the best quarterback.
Today. Right. Like he's
today,
playing. Yeah. He's playing the best so far today. And then two plays later, he throws a pick six.
Right.
I mean, so
that's Kenny though.
Right.
And that's what he still has to fix. When Kenny's on his game, Kenny throws some dimes. We'll talk about this. Well, I'll say now. You and I kind of graded, and Trev, we'll bring you in on this. I thought the 5 best throws today during any of the periods were 3 throws by CJ, 2 throws by Kenny. What's kind of jacked up about Kenny's performance is both of his great balls were dropped. The comeback and then the go ball to Jerome Bettis. One thing there was one encouraging thing from Steve though. He had a really nice 7-on-7 throw. The one to KK Smith was actually coming off his first read. That was actually encouraging. He came back to that throw to hit that over the middle throw to KK. But back to Kenny, his ability to extend plays. He's got some like the throw he should have thrown the corner to Elijah Burris. I just don't know that he saw him because he was out of the pocket. Because Kenny's not afraid to take chances throwing the ball down the field.
He was rolling to his right.
Right. Yeah. I don't think he saw him. But, he had a couple of plays where he scrambles for big gains. He threw the ball away when he needed to throw the ball away. There was that one pressure where they brought, I think, 2 off the edge and they didn't touch a guy. He clearly throws the ball away, but he throws the ball away over the head of his receiver. So there's no chance of like getting flagged for intentional grounding. Like that was good awareness. He led the offense on one of only 2 scoring drives today. They only had 2 touchdown drives today. Kenny led him on 1. But the issue for Kenny is he'll make some of those really good throws, and then he'll just make those bad mistakes. Mm-hmm. Like he had another play where he almost got picked off when he threw an out cut to Jadarian Price because he threw late. And he was rushed because you could tell that the internal clock was speeding up a little bit. So he just rushes an out throw, and the linebacker kind of misjudged it. Otherwise, he steps in front of it and picks it off. And then, of course, he has the bad interception. And that's the issue with Kenny is, like, he just has to eliminate those because when Kenny makes a mistake, it's a bad mistake. You just flat out didn't read the defense. So you think to the blue and gold game scrimmage last year, where he just kind of chucks the ball up and Luke Talich picks it off. You're like, I don't even know who he was throwing to at receiver on that play. Like, I don't even know where the ball was going. And those are things that Kenny's going to have to avoid because his ability to extend plays, his arm talent is special. He's smart. He can tell, but he'll just in the pick he threw. He just decided before the snap, I'm pulling this and throwing this. I'm coming out of the read and I'm throwing this ball out there. And you could see he was staring right at it the whole time. And he wasn't in the corner. He was looking at the receiver, not the corner. and he just see it, he pulls it, and then just as soon as he gets here, you guys heard me go, uh-oh, and then the guy picks it off. And that's the problem with Kenny is he just has those really bad mistakes.
It's feast or famine. I mean, it really is. Like,
to a degree, but man,
there's a lot
the
of feast there.
is,
I want to be clear. There's a lot of feast.
Year.
Yeah, there's a lot of feast there. Right.
Yeah, he's
sometimes
just gotta. Go ahead, Trev.
When I watch Kenny Minchey in practice, and kind of in the same lines of the feast or famine piece, and how the ceiling when he's on is just so exceptional, dude, I get shades of like Everett Golson. You know, like of the look, man, the arm talent special. He's athletic. He can extend plays, but the mistakes are bad. And that reminds me of, you know,
costly.
the Everett Golson of 2014.
Very costly.
Yeah. Of gosh, when he's on. But it is very evident when he's not. And so those are some of my takeaways from seeing some of the practice things that we've gotten to see from Kenny Minchey so far is when he's dialed, he's letting it rip, and like watching him throw is probably the most impressive when he's on, in my opinion. But again, when he's off, it's just the misses are rough, man. The misses are rough. That's where I'm at.
Yeah. But the playmaking stands out.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a buddy of mine text me, Vince, and I kind of got a good chuckle out of it. He's like, you know, somebody's reporting that Kenny had the best day. And I don't see how you see that, where that's your conclusion. But I think you can say Kenny's best moments were as good as anything else you're going to see.
Yeah, like that's fair.
I mean, his good moments are really good.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. You've got to clean up those. And it's like 5 plays. Like it's 5 plays. That's it. Just clean up those 5 plays and you got a shot. But that's the thing. And that's what we haven't seen from CJ is those. Now, again, he may be doing that in other practices. I remember last spring or last fall, we saw CJ get picked off by a walk-on in the Jersey scrimmage that we didn't get a chance to be at. I mean, I know he makes mistakes, but like we can only look at what we're there. And when we're able to see practices, it's just he makes the least amount of mistakes. Yeah. And that's the thing about Kenny is you've got that's the kind of thing that can separate a quarterback battle. Yes, you are as good as anybody else, if not the best we have when you're on. But when you're not on, the mistakes you make are not drive killers; they're drive enders. Mm-hmm. And like the read zone where he made the bad read. I can live with that. That's correctable.
Because he runs the ball hard. Like he would have scored on that. Like he would have scored.
Oh, I think so. They blew him dead, but like they're not.
He scores
all
on
the
that.
Momentum. Yeah, he scores on that. Absolutely scores on that.
Yep. So I mean, it's a bad read, yes, but he runs the ball so hard and well that it's still a score. So it's like you know. But yeah, I'm with you on that one. So let's turn the page to the final guy in the competition, and that would be CJ Carr. I think your evaluation is spot on that, you know, and this is what we saw today, right? He made the least amount of mistakes, but also the best play of the day.
Yeah.
Like,
so what I felt the 5 best throws today were, and I'm not including RVA, because you could throw the corner route by Blake Hebert in there if we're talking about RVA.
That was a heck of a throw, actually.
Because Blake Hebert threw a freaking rope during RVA on a corner route. I was like, oh boy.
And
5 best throws that I saw.
RVA routes versus air, just in case people aren't following along.
So the 7-on-7 in cut where CJ comes off, he reads it. He knows the guy's going to get open. The guy's a little late out of his break, so CJ has to hold it for a second, and then he throws him open over top of a linebacker right in the window. I'm like, how did he get the ball up and down that way? That was one of the 5 best. Kenny's comeback to Elijah on the sprint out was a great throw.
Yep.
Kenny's deep ball to Jerome Bettis. CJ sprinting out and throwing it like basically it looked like he almost threw a linebacker on that little option route for about a 6-yard gain.
Dead sidearm, by the way. Like
just yes.
Like parallel to the ground, sidearm throw.
Nobody had a chance to catch that ball except for I think it was Elijah Burt, or was that Jack Larson?
For some reason I thought it was KK.
I forget.
So there you go.
It might have been KK. You know, you're right. It was KK. It was KK. And then the walk-off touchdown to Elijah Burris.
At
the end of the scrimmage. The thing is, he can make all the throws that Kenny can make. It's not quite as mobile, but CJ, they had a designed quarterback counter run for CJ today. He had a couple times where, like, even if he gets sacked on that play, his ability to make the first two pass rushers miss meant it wasn't a -8, it was a -2. But he didn't turn the ball over, and the throws he makes are just, you're just like, I mean, he can make throws that nobody else can make. So that's the big thing for me is that right there, Vince, is he just.
I mean, can we talk about
to
that
me,
last
there was
play?
clear separation for today. So, like, give you an example of it. Like, so like Vince said, we didn't see a ton of throws by CJ today because
correct. It's just the way it worked out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we get in there. It was the last period. He was the last quarterback to go, right? Wasn't it they didn't have anything else after that?
Nope, that was it.
So ran the ball a couple times. It was sort of like a red zone type of drill. And CJ, I mean, they're all feeling the pressure. They bring a blitz. CJ drops back. He sees the pressure coming, backpedals 3 steps, not in like a, oh no, but like buying time. Soon as Elijah Burris breaks on the post, he just launches it into the back of the end zone. Elijah catches it and then double taps the back line. He threw it from what, 35, 40-yard line?
Yeah, so it's like a 50-yard ball.
I mean, and you're just like, dude, like that's an elite throw that you're just like.
I mean, he put it in the back of the end zone. There was no way anybody else was catching it. It was his guy or
It's
nothing.
The way it dropped down.
I mean, it just dropped right into the basket. I mean, it's like those throws that quarterbacks do at the end of practice where they try to get it into the trash can. It was that kind of a throw in live team. Like, I mean, it could not have been a better ball. It's just not possible.
It's one of the best throws I've seen in a long time in Notre Dame.
Correct.
I mean, it was like, and that's the kind of throw also that Everett would make. That's the kind of throw Jimmy would make. And man, it was a exceptional throw. And that's and it was the second touchdown drive that the offense was on. I mean, it just was
right.
There's just, like, to me, guys, today was a very clear example of the two best quarterbacks in the room by far are CJ and Kenny.
Correct.
I mean, experience only takes you so far. Just the ability to make throws, to make plays with your arm that nobody else can really make, to be able to handle the pressure physically and have the type of mechanics needed. The anticipation, like Stiers was even kind of like getting fired up today. It's like the one in cut he threw in 7-on-7. You're just like, the anticipation he showed on that throw to get the ball out. You're just like, I don't know what else you need to see about that. You know what I mean? And it's just like I'm not ready to say CJ's the guy because, again, when the Kenny's highs are really high,
right?
But it's just like, and this is what I've heard from my sources throughout spring is just the steadiness that CJ brings to the table is just what really stands out.
Yeah.
But guys, today was the most obvious that I've ever seen where it was just like, there's a very clear difference in talent between two guys and the other guy when it comes to the returners in this quarterback battle.
I do
very apparent.
I want to add one piece because since I haven't seen a ton of CJ Carr, right? Because he was the third quarterback last year, right? When we got to see practices and stuff like that. And this is the first time we've seen an entire practice in the spring. And so I haven't seen a lot of his outward emotion, right? Because it's the third team quarterback. Like, you don't get a whole lot of opportunity to have outward emotion when you're the third team quarterback. When he hit that throw to end practice for the touchdown, obviously he was running down to celebrate with his team and everything because the offense was on one sideline, defense was on the other sideline. So he's running down to celebrate with his team. He immediately looks over to the defensive sideline and is talking some mean trash as he runs down. Like, it was awesome. Right. I don't even know what he said. It doesn't matter. But like, he was like looking at the sideline and just hyped up, and it was just fun to see.
The thing to me, the command that CJ and Kenny both show of the huddle also stood out to me today.
I completely agree with that. Yeah.
Both of them. Like, they both have much more just outward, obvious, like, hey, I'm in charge of the huddle. Both of them. And we didn't see that last spring because they were both young and still learning and
Right.
a lot of question marks.
Yes,
Like
100%.
they both showed me a lot more. Because I promise you, Kenny would have done the same thing if he made that throw.
Oh,
and
I'm
Kenny
sure.
can make that. And that's the thing is there's two quarterbacks right now on the roster that can make that throw. Kenny and CJ. CJ made it today. For all we know, Kenny made that same throw. Yes, we don't have any clue. We weren't there. But the other thing too is this is for the moment. This is how impressive. I wish there was. I pray that Notre Dame puts a highlight out of that play. I pray that they show that play because we can't show it. You know what I mean?
No,
but
no, we can't.
That was like what it was such an. It reminded me of the Bird game back in the '80s against the Hawks. Trev, I think I made you watch this, right? Where the Hawks players are like high-fiving each other on the bench because of just how filthy. When Bird was making shots, they were like high-fiving each other. They got fined for it. And to look over and obviously the offense is going crazy, but there was defensive players that were like kind of going nuts on that because at the end of the day, they're all teammates. And like there was one play, like I think it was like when Steve made one of his really long, like really nice run, you could kind of hear, both sides kind of, nice job, 1-8, that kind of thing. But like both sides were a little bit kind of, you could see it. Some of the defensive guys, maybe it was the guys who weren't playing, but you could tell there was like a whoa, like that's a big time throw. But one thing that I'll say is I did not notice with any of the three quarterbacks any difference in how the players react to them. That's a good thing. I think the players have confidence in Steve. They have confidence in Kenny, and they have confidence in CJ. That's why Elijah kept running, and he didn't just stop. You know what I mean? Like he kept running. You see that with CJ. I mean, with Kenny and Steve as well. Like they don't. None of the quarterbacks, there's not a difference with any of them in regard to how the players react to them, and that's an important thing to talk about too. So this notion that, well, this guy's the locker room wants this guy, it's not what we saw today. The way I look at it, the way the players are going to have faith in whoever wins that job, the way that they reacted to him today.
Yep,
just the huddle, the everything, and that's a good sign. Because that helps with making it harder to make the wrong decision. Because even if you make the wrong decision, you're still be okay because they're talented kids. And then, of course, if there's a faith in my concern, one of my big concerns was, can this split your team like 2016? And what we saw today, I don't have a lot of concern about that now. Just the way that the entire team reacts to all three of those kids. That is, I think, an important thing to discuss as well in this practice is I don't see this being a locker room splitting decision right now based on just how people react to all these kids. And I think that's important. But I'll just come out and say it. Today was the most obvious where you can't watch that quarterback room and come away thinking that all three of them have a legit shot to start on this football team and lead this team to a championship. I don't see how you can watch today's practice after everything we've seen in the past and think that that's the case. There's a very clear difference in obvious arm talent between Kenny and CJ and Steve. And look, I know that's going to piss some people off. I'm a Steve hater. I don't hate Steve at all. I think he's a great kid. But it's just, guys, it's obvious. And yes, this was an abnormally bad day for Steve. Steve is usually better than what we saw.
I agree with that.
Definitely better than what we saw today. And if I had to pick, what do you evaluate more, the Penn State-Oregon State game or today's practice? The Penn State and Oregon State game clearly matter more to me than what he did in today's practice. But what today's practice showed us is there's a difference in size, there's a difference in arm talent, there's a difference in athleticism, and there's a difference in playmaking ability between CJ and Kenny and then Steve. And I don't think that's debatable. I mean, I don't see how that's debatable after what we saw this spring and especially today. I'm just going to be honest. I'm just going to be not honest. I'm going to be open about that. Today was obvious. It was very obvious, Trev. I mean, am I making too much of it in your opinion? You feel free to tell me if you think that I am.
No, I think all sample sizes are on the table. Like we have what we have to evaluate. I mean, the one thing that I was going to say is, like you guys talked about it already. Steve was not good today. Just plain and simple. He could have lit the world on fire yesterday, but we don't know. None of it to me is beyond the realm of possibilities. CJ was dialed today. He had the best throw today. His mistakes were the least mounting of today. Like Steve's biggest mistake, one, he didn't pull the trigger on a corner route, and he ended up scrambling.
But you know what he did? You know what he did though, Trevor? Not to cut you off. The first thing that he did, and we talked about the big screen and how it has the last play on it. Before he even looked over to the sideline for the next play, he was looking up at that screen because he knew that he missed something and he wanted to see what it was.
Oh yeah.
And so he was already coaching himself up about what to do the next time that happens. Like, I didn't watch all the guys close enough to see if they were doing that as well. I just happened to see that. And he's like staring at that screen to see like what the coverage was, what he missed. Like that says something to me. Like he's always learning about, and again, that's not on the other guys. That's what I saw with him. And I like that. Yeah,
absolutely. It's just, Bryan, to answer your question, I don't think you're reading too much into it because what we got to see today, to me, it was, I understand talking about all three quarterbacks as a whole. CJ was the best quarterback today to me by a lot. Like it's not, and I don't think that part is debatable either. Not to say that Kenny also sucked, but to me, 1-3 stood out above all the others.
Can I ask a question? And this is, sure. If you take away the pick, do you think it's more debatable? Because like when I made the statement to Vince that I think right now Kenny's the best. This was before that final team period where CJ went down and led him on the touchdown drive and before Kenny's pick. Like, so my question is, if you take away the pick and everything else is the same, but you take away that pick, I think we all agree CJ's probably still the best because CJ's best throws came after I made that statement to you guys. We hadn't really seen CJ do a whole lot up to that point in time, except for that one really impressive in throw.
Right.
In 7-on-7, but he was handing the ball off and stuff during the team period.
Yeah.
Do you think it's much more debatable if you take away that pick that Kenny threw? I know it's hard to remove something that happened. Thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely more debatable. But now, if the entire practice went the exact same, and CJ still made all the throws that he did, and Kenny still made all the throws that he did minus the interception, to me, it's still CJ. Takes a day.
Don't disagree with that. I just think it's more debatable. I think it's closer.
Yeah, it gets closer.
Yeah, agreed.
If you take away the pick. But that's the thing that Kenny's got to clean up. He's got to clean up those mistakes because you can't, in a discussion on a podcast, we can say, if he doesn't throw the pick, what are your thoughts, Trev? But he did. And that's what he's got to clean up. If he's gonna win this job, if Kenny's gonna win this job, he has to stop making those mistakes. He has to. And why I say that is not that if he starts, he's not going to be good. Because Vince, I said this to you. Mm-hmm. If Kenny's the starter, okay, I'm good. He's going to make throws like that. He's going to turn the ball over like that. He just will. Brace yourself. But I can live with it because he's going to make some big time plays as well. The reason I say that about Kenny is because you're not competing against Steve. You're competing against CJ. And that's why you can't make those mistakes as often as you do.
Right. If CJ Carr was not part of the equation and it was Kenny versus Steve, cool. Like
it's over. The competition's over in my opinion.
Correct. And even with that mistake, even with the propensity to turn the ball over, the ceiling is just so much higher that you go with Kenny in that regard. Like if that's what the competition is. But CJ's involved, and he's not turning the ball over. At least visually, from what I've seen, he's more consistent. He's more consistent, right? And he's got a high ceiling. So
and that's what my sources tell me too. I mean that's the other thing.
My
sources tell me that same thing. This isn't just me saying it's what we see, but it's also, it's also something that I'm hearing from different sources as well.
The consistency piece, yeah,
right. Just he's the most steady. But I also hear that when Kenny flashes, it's really impressive.
Yeah,
that's why I say he's got to clean that stuff up. He's got to clean that stuff up. And if he does, Kenny Minchey. That's why I'm very clear to say, guys, the competition at quarterback is not over based on what we saw today. Because I still say that what number 8 does is good enough to where, like, we're going to carry this thing up. Because if Kenny can clean that stuff up the end of spring, into the summer, into fall camp, then it's going to be a neck and neck battle. Yeah. If I had to pick a quarterback today, it's CJ Carr, and I'm not. It's a very short conversation. But I don't have to pick a quarterback today. But what I do think is very clear today, that at the end of the day, guys, this is going to be a two-man race, truly a two-man race. And you can talk about experience and nerves of steel and all that all you want, but it was very obvious. And I just think with the body language of the quarterbacks as a whole, I'll just leave it at that I think that's being borne out throughout the spring. Just kind of how I feel about that one.
Yep. I'm not going to elaborate on that anymore. Gentlemen, do you have anything else to add on the quarterbacks before we put a bow on this one? Okay. Folks, thanks for hanging out with us. And again, this was our one and only full practice viewing of the spring. Obviously, the spring game is a week from today. We will all be in attendance for that. Looking forward to it over at Notre Dame Stadium. Like I said, a week from today, 2 o'clock. Also on Peacock if you're not in town. So
I love being in the stadium. I do.
Oh, come on.
I really do.
I'm not upset because it was raining.
It's a freaking spring on April 12th. I love being in the stadium.
Right. I would have loved to be in the stadium today, but like the weather wasn't great. But yeah, I'm with you on that one completely.
I've always loved it, but it's so much nicer inside now. Like it's always been iconic, but I don't know. It's just like, it doesn't get old, Vince. For me, it hasn't got there yet. No. It hasn't gotten old yet. I still love being in that stadium.
Yep.
I do.
As of right now, the weather forecast for Saturday is clear skies at 57 degrees.
Let's roll, baby.
So
let's roll. Let's roll. Let's roll. That'll be that works for me. So we'll all be there. We will all report on it. We will have a show after it on next Saturday. TBA on the time, depending on when we all get back to the house and whatnot. But we'll definitely bring you guys our observations. As far as media viewing for spring practice, it is now over. Like, there's no 4 periods. There is no nothing. We don't know what they're doing between now and next Saturday. All we know is there is a spring game on Saturday. So we'll see you all there. So make sure you check that out. And, of course, make sure you check out the boards.irishbreakdown.com. Give us a thumbs up. Give us hit that notification bell so you know when there's going to be some shows and things of that nature. We got a great week, obviously, in store for you. Same schedule as always. We got the afternoon show. We got the evening show. We got all kinds of fun stuff. And I know Sean was at practice today as well. He and I are going to have a show on Monday evening, and so we'll get his thoughts on practice, and I'm sure he'll have some sound bites from Marcus Freeman, and we'll have a lot of fun with that.
RTCF on Monday. The topic for Sean and I is going to be the 2024 season for Notre Dame, what the 2017 and 2015 seasons were for Clemson and Georgia and Clemson.
Ooh, okay. I like where that's headed. All right. Very good. So make sure you tune in 1 o'clock for the RTCF show with Sean and Bryan. And then at 5 o'clock, myself and Sean Stiers will bring you some action as well. So for Trevor, for Bryan, I'm Vince. We appreciate everybody hanging out with us on a Saturday. Go enjoy your weekend, everybody. And we will talk to you next time on the Irish Breakdown podcast. Have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your weekend.